Istanbul is incredible. It's one of the most awe-inspiring cities we've been to thus far. Home to breathtaking architecture, delicious food, and some of the warmest, most genuinely hospitable people we've ever met on our travels, it's a city we would love to visit again and again. If you're looking to visit Istanbul for the first time, then I hope this comprehensive travel guide can help you plan your trip. It will tell you everything you need to know, from where to stay, which sights to see, and of course, what food to eat. We enjoyed Istanbul so much that we could honestly see ourselves living there. Spend just one day in this captivating city and I won't be surprised if you feel the same way too. Applying for an e-visa to Turkey is easy. Everything is done online and you can have your visa in minutes. Istanbul is the economic, financial, and cultural center of Turkey. It's also the country's biggest city with a population of just over 15 million people, making it one of the largest cities in Europe and the world. For those reasons, it's natural to assume that Istanbul is Turkey's capital, but it isn't. That distinction goes to Ankara. Located on both sides of the Bosphorus, what makes Istanbul geographically interesting is that it's one of a handful of cities that straddles two continents. The western half of the city is situated in Europe while the eastern half is located in Asia. The Asian side is largely residential, so you'll find most of the city's major attractions clustered within two districts on the European side, Sultanahmet and Beyoğlu. First-time visitors to the city will be spending much of their time in those two districts. Istanbul is a city steeped in history and culture, so there is much to see and do there. From its Byzantine churches adorned with mosaics and frescoes to its magnificent mosques decorated by sky-high minarets, Istanbul is a city that will mesmerize you at every turn. Spring, March to May, is the best time to visit Istanbul, followed by autumn, September to November. Crowds are thinner and the weather is moderate during both seasons, though autumn sees more rain than spring. We went in early November and the weather was near perfect. I was comfortable walking around in a light jacket with just a t-shirt inside. It was overcast on a couple of days, but it never rained. Fans of tulips, which are originally from Turkey, not Holland, will be pleased to know that the International Tulip Festival is held in April with millions of tulips in bloom throughout the city. March to May, this is the best time to visit Istanbul. The weather is relatively mild and dry and the city will be awash with color. The next time we visit Istanbul, it will definitely be in April to take part in the Tulip Festival. June-August, apart from being the busiest time of the year, June till August can get pretty hot and humid, up to 28 degrees Celsius/82 degrees Fahrenheit. Lines are at their longest and prices at their peak during this time. September to November, like spring, autumn is a great time to visit Istanbul. The weather is similar, although it does get rainier in the fall as described. While spring has the Tulip Festival, autumn has its share of festivals as well, like the Akbank Jazz Festival and the Istanbul Theatre Festival, both of which are in November. December-February is low season in Istanbul. It's the wettest and coldest time of the year, so be sure to dress appropriately. It can get rainy and snowy with temperatures dropping down to a frigid 3 degrees Celsius/37 degrees Fahrenheit. International flights will be arriving at either Ataturk or Sabiha Gökçen Airport. Between the two, Ataturk is closer to the city center. Assuming you'll be staying in either Sultanahmet or Taksim, Beyoğlu, here's how you get to both areas from either airport. Istanbul New Airport has been under construction and is set to be inaugurated on October 29, 2018. It's said to be the biggest airport in the world with a 150 million annual passenger capacity. Ataturk Airport will be closed down once the new airport is operational. I'll be sure to update this guide when that happens. From Ataturk to Sultanahmet, a taxi to Sultanahmet will run you around 54 TL. A private transfer will cost around 27 euros. If you don't mind taking the metro with your luggage in tow, then that would be the cheapest option. To go by metro, take the M18 train going towards Yenikap. Get off at Zeytinburnu, which is the 6th stop. Transfer to the T1 tram going towards İmanoğlu or Kabataş, then get off at Sultanahmet station. Each ride and transfer on the Istanbul metro system costs 5 TL, so a ride to Sultanahmet from Ataturk will cost you 10 TL. To Taksim, a taxi to Taksim will cost you around 67 TL. A private transfer will cost around 32 euros. The cheapest way would be to go by Havabus Airport shuttle bus. Exit the airport and take the Havabus bound for Taksim. They depart every 30 minutes between 4 am and 1 am and will drop you off close to Taksim Square. The fare from Ataturk is 14 TL and the ride takes around 40 minutes. From Sabiha Gökçen to Sultanahmet, a taxi to Sultanahmet will cost you around 123 TL. A private transfer will cost around 55 euros. Going by Havabus Airport shuttle bus is much cheaper. Take the Havabus bound for Taksim. The fare from Sabiha Gökçen is 18 TL and the ride takes around an hour and a half. From Taksim, you can either take a taxi to Sultanahmet, around 17 TL, or walk to the Taksim metro station and take the F1 funicular to Kabataş. Transfer to the T1 tram bound for Bağcılar and get off at Sultanahmet station. These are 2 rides, so it'll cost you 10 TL. Alternatively, you can take the Havabus from the airport to Kadıköy. The fare is 14 TL and the ride takes around an hour. Once in Kadıköy, walk to the Şehir Hatlar dock and take a 15-minute ferry ride to İmanoğlu. From there, you can either take a taxi to your hotel in Sultanahmet, 5 minutes or so, or walk to the İmanoğlu station and take the T1 tram bound for Bağcılar and get off at Sultanahmet station. Ferry rides cost the same as the metro, so the trip from Kadıköy to Sultanahmet will run you 10 TL. To Taksim, a taxi to Taksim will cost you around 107 TL. A private transfer will cost around 55 euros. To go by airport shuttle, take the Havabus to Taksim for 18 TL, same as above. Things to remember. You'll need Turkish liras, TL, in smaller denominations, 5, 10, 20, to pay for the transportation services mentioned above. You can withdraw TL from an ATM or exchange a small amount of foreign currency at either airport. Jump to the Where to Exchange Currency section of this guide for more information. If you'll be taking the metro and or ferry, then you can save on the fare by purchasing an Istanbul card. Jump to the Travel Tips section of this guide for more information. There are countless hotels in Istanbul. If you'll be taking a taxi, then it's best that you have a printout or screenshot of your hotel's complete address and telephone number to show the driver. We stayed one night at an airport near Ataturk and the taxi driver didn't know where our hotel was even with a printed location map. Luckily, he was able to find it with GPS. Where to exchange currency. Turkey's unit of currency is the Turkish lira, TL. You can exchange currency at popular tourist areas like Sultanahmet, the Grand Bazaar, around Taksim Square and Istiklal Caddesi, etc. Rates are said to be best at the Grand Bazaar and Sultanahmet, but the differences may be insignificant. You won't get the best rates at the airports, so if you need to exchange currency to get into the city, then you should only change a small amount. Another option is to withdraw TL from an ATM. It's quicker than exchanging paper currency and the rates are comparable, some say even better. Just be sure to contact your bank before your trip, as they may have to activate it for overseas use. In my experience, my card works in some machines but not in others. I didn't have any problems anywhere in Turkey. Some ATM machines may ask if you want to proceed with or without conversion. Always proceed without conversion so your local bank does the conversion for you. Proceeding with conversion authorizes the foreign bank operating the ATM to do the conversion, usually at very poor rates. According to this article, the difference between rates can be as high as 10% or more. Where to stay in Istanbul? Based on what we learned from our trip, there are two ideal places to stay in Istanbul for first-time visitors, Sultanahmet and Beyoğlu. Sultanahmet. The Sultanahmet area is where most of the major tourist sites are located. If you're visiting Istanbul to appreciate its historic sites, then there's no better place to stay than Sultanahmet. When we visited Istanbul, we stayed at a great boutique hotel not too far from the Blue Mosque called Antique House. Unfortunately, it seems to have changed hands since our last trip and is now known as Dos Hermanos Hotel. The location is ideal, about a 10 to 15 minute walk from all the historical attractions like Hagia Sophia and Basilica Cistern, but I can't vouch for it other than that. You can check these sites to search for hotels in the Sultanahmet area, booking.com, Agoda. Beyoğlu. If you want a more contemporary side to Istanbul whilst still having easy access to the Sultanahmet area, then Beyoğlu around Taksim Square may be the better choice. It's home to the popular shopping street of İstiklal Caddesi, Independence Avenue, as well as a number of trendy bars and clubs. It's just a funicular and tram ride away to Sultanahmet, making it ideal for first-time visitors as well. We'll probably stay here on our next trip to Istanbul. You can check these sites to search for hotels around Taksim Square, booking.com, Agoda. Near Ataturk Airport. If you have a flight out of Ataturk early in the morning and need to stay near the airport, then a good hotel to consider is Hotel Cook. It's about a 10 to 15 minute taxi ride away from the airport and there are plenty of shops and restaurants in the area. We stayed here for one night when we had to catch a flight to Izmir early one morning. You can book a room at Hotel Cook through booking.com or Agoda. Things to do in Istanbul. 1. Visit Sultanahmet's top tourist attractions. As described above, Sultanahmet is home to the city's most important attractions like Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, the Basilica Cistern, and the Blue Mosque. No first-time visit to Istanbul can be complete without visiting all these places. Travelers pressed for time can click on the link below to learn how you can visit these attractions in one day. But if you have more time, then it would be best to spread them out over 2 days. You can check my post on the top attractions at Sultanahmet Square in Istanbul for more pictures and information, but here's a quick rundown of what you can find there. Hagia Sophia, the most iconic site in Istanbul and once considered the greatest church in Christendom. Sultanahmet, one of the most striking mosques in Istanbul. Basilica Cistern, the largest surviving Byzantine cistern in Istanbul. At Meydani, the former location of the Hippodrome of Constantinople. Ibrahim Pasha Palace, museum featuring an impressive collection of calligraphy and rugs. Topkapi Palace, the court of the Ottoman Empire from the 15th to the 19th centuries. Istanbul Archaeology Museums, Museum of the Ancient Orient, Tiled Pavilion, Archaeological Museum. We visited all these sites on our own, but if you want a more in-depth experience, then you may want to go on a guided tour. Get Your Guide offers many different types of Istanbul tours, two of their most popular being the Highlights of Istanbul tour and the Half-Day Highlights guided tour. If you just want easy access to Istanbul's top attractions without a guide, then another option would be to go on a big bus tour. For me, there's no better way to become acquainted with a new city than these hop-on hop-off tours. Double-decker buses ply set routes that take you to many of the top attractions in Istanbul, and you can hop on and off as many times as you want for the duration of your pass. Very convenient indeed. 2. Shop like a sultan at the Grand and Egyptian Spice Bazaars. The Grand and Egyptian Spice Bazaars are Istanbul's most popular bazaars. One of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world with over 3,000 shops. You can buy all sorts of things at the Grand Bazaar like leather goods, jewelry, carpets, clothing, furniture, ceramics, and souvenirs. Considerably smaller than the Grand Bazaar, the Spice Bazaar is home to around 100 shops selling dried fruits, nuts, spices, tea, Turkish delight, and other goodies. Both are walking distance from Sultanahmet Square. Follow the link for a DIY walking tour of Istanbul's bazaars and Rustam Pasha Mosque, a small but beautiful mosque near the Spice Bazaar. You can easily visit the Grand and Spice Bazaars on your own, but if you'd like to go on a guided tour, then you can book one through Get Your Guide. Having a guide will be helpful, especially at the Grand Bazaar because it's so big. Follow the link to check out Get Your Guide's Grand and Spice Bazaar tours. 3. Walk across Galata Bridge and explore Beyoğlu and Dolmabahce Palace. Home to the iconic Galata Tower and Dolmabahce Palace as well as the city's most fashionable boulevard in Istiklal Caddesi, the neighborhoods across Galata Bridge provide an interesting mix of old and new that's different in feel to the time-honored charm of Sultanahmet. If you enjoy shopping, good food, and perhaps a taste of Istanbul's nightlife, then this is where you need to be. You can check my post on Galata Bridge, Beyoğlu, and Dolmabahce Palace in Istanbul for more pictures and information, but here's a quick rundown of what you can find there. Galata Bridge, bridge connecting the north and south of European Istanbul. Galata Tower, former watchtower offering great views of the city. Istiklal Caddesi, the heart of Beyoğlu and Istanbul's most famous street. Dolmabahce Palace, the biggest palace in Turkey. As described, you can visit all these sites on your own, but you may want to consider a guided tour as well, especially if you want to learn more about each place. Get Your Guide's 2-day highlights of Istanbul tour covers Dolmabahce Palace, Istiklal Street, and Taksim. The big bus tour will take you to these places as well. 4. Take a cruise on the Bosphorus with Shahir Hatlar. Going on a scenic all-day cruise of the Bosphorus is one of Istanbul's greatest pleasures according to many. They're right. Shahir Hatlar is Istanbul's official ferry company and offers 3 Bosphorus cruises, full, short, and moonlight, evening. The short cruise takes you on a 2-hour loop while the full and moonlight cruises last for 6 hours and take you all the way to Anadolu Kavak, which is the last dock before the Black Sea. It's a charming seaside town where you can have a delicious seafood lunch or dinner by the water. Check out my post on the Bosphorus cruise with Shahir Hatlar for more pictures and information. You can easily book a Bosphorus cruise yourself at the ferry dock, but you can arrange for one in advance as well through Get Your Guide. They offer many variations of the Bosphorus cruise, some even bundled with onboard dinner and a show. Follow the link to check out Bosphorus cruise options on Get Your Guide. 5. Marvel at the mosaics in Chora Church compared to other attractions. Chora Church is out of the way, but it's worth the effort. A small Byzantine church converted to a mosque before being turned into a museum, it's home to what many call the most stunning mosaics in Istanbul. Check out my post on Chora Church, Karaye Museum, in Istanbul for more pictures and information. 6. Go on a culinary walk. Turkish cuisine is interesting. It's colorful and nuanced and seems as diverse as the country's landscape. Enjoy one meal at Siyah Sofrası and you'll see what I mean. We did all our own food research, but in hindsight, I would have loved to go on a food tour. I think Turkish cuisine is best appreciated, and understood, with the guidance of a knowledgeable local. Culinary backstreets can help you with that. We went on a culinary walk, aka food tour, with culinary backstreets in Barcelona and absolutely loved it. They're one of the world's leading food tour providers and it all started here in Istanbul. If you'd like to do a deep dive into Turkish cuisine, then you can follow the link to check out their culinary walks in Istanbul. Key in our Fly for Food promo code to get a 5% discount when booking any of their walks. 7. Explore the trendy Asian side. With the majority of tourist attractions located on the European side, most first-time travelers to Istanbul don't venture into the Asian side of the city. Had it not been for C.S. Sofras and Walter's Coffee Roastery, then we wouldn't have gone there either. Home to a maze of cafes, bars, restaurants, and some trendy neighborhoods, the Asian side has much to offer and is well worth a day if you can spare it. 8. Take a cooking class. We haven't done this in Turkey, but we often take cooking classes whenever we travel. It's a fun, hands-on way of learning about the local cuisine. If you're spending enough time in Istanbul and want to take a cooking class, then I suggest searching through Cookly. As far as I know, there isn't a more comprehensive site for one-day cooking classes around the world than Cookly. Follow the link for a list of available cooking classes in Istanbul. Day trips from Istanbul. We traveled around Turkey for 2 weeks, so we went to these places on our own. But if you don't have as much time, then you can visit them on day trips from Istanbul as well. Domestic flights are inexpensive and efficient in Turkey, making these day trips to other regions highly possible. 1. Ride a hot air balloon in Cappadocia. This was one of the best things we did in our 2 weeks in Turkey. Cappadocia in central Anatolia is best known for its unique moon-like landscape dotted with strange rock formations known as fairy chimneys. It's a spectacular sight from the ground, but even more stunning when viewed from a hot air balloon. Cappadocia was our favorite destination in Turkey, so it's well worth spending a few days there. But if you're pressed for time, then you can book a day tour with flights through Get Your Guide. They offer this one-day tour that takes you to Cappadocia's top attractions. But if you want to do the hot air balloon ride as well, then you'll need to book this 2-day tour. Follow the links for more information and to book the tours. 2. Walk on the calcium travertines of Pamukkale. One of the things we loved most about Turkey was the diversity of its landscape. The moonscape of Cappadocia was the most stunning for us, but not far behind were the calcium travertines of Pamukkale. This ancient spa city is famous for its white terraces made of travertine, a sedimentary rock deposited by water from the 17 naturally occurring hot springs in the area. What makes this area even more interesting is that the travertines aren't its only attraction. Walk to the top of the plateau to explore the ruins of Hierapolis, then swim in the mineral-rich waters of Cleopatra's Pool. At the bottom of this picturesque tree-lined pool are Roman marble columns dating back to the 2nd century BC. Pamukkale is often visited on a day trip between cities, so going on a day trip from Istanbul is perfect. Get Your Guide offers a one-day tour of Pamukkale and Hierapolis with flights. You can also do this 2-day tour, which includes Aphrodisias as well. We visited many ruins in Turkey and Aphrodisias was by far the most beautiful and well preserved. 3. Explore the ancient city of Ephesus. Ephesus in Selçuk Izmir is one of the most visited attractions in Turkey. Built in the 10th century BC, this ancient city was a key seaport that was once the center of trade and commerce in the ancient world, as well as being a hub for early Christianity. We visited several ruins throughout the country and Ephesus was the biggest and most impressive. We spent a few days in Selçuk to fully explore the area, but you can visit on a one-day tour from Istanbul as well. This Ephesus day tour with flights from Get Your Guide will take you to Ephesus and Mariamana Evi, the final home of the Virgin Mary. Where to eat in Istanbul. 1. Siha Sofras. Located in bustling Kadıköy market on the Asian side of Istanbul, Siha Sofras has been hailed by more than one source as possibly the best restaurant in all of Istanbul. What makes it unique is that the owner Musa Dugdavirian isn't just a chef, he's also a culinary anthropologist. Collecting recipes from all over Turkey, he frequently offers unusual regional dishes that you won't find anywhere else. Highly recommended and one of the best meals we had in Istanbul. Check out my post on Siha Sofras in Istanbul for more pictures and information. 2. Durumzade. Durumzade was one of the restaurants featured on the Istanbul episode of No Reservations with my hero, the late great Anthony Bourdain. They specialize in durum, a type of sandwich made by rolling flatbread around doner kebab fillings. We tried durum 4 times at different restaurants in 2 weeks. All were good, but the offerings at Durumzade were a cut above the rest. It was probably the single best thing I ate in Turkey. Check out my post on Durumzade in Istanbul for more pictures and information. 3. Kızılkaylar. Another restaurant featured on No Reservations, Kızılkaylar is home to these strange but appealing wet, Islak, burgers. They get their radioactive orange coloring from being dunked in a garlicky tomato sauce then being left to steam in a hammam-style glass box. A staple among late-night boozers in Taksim Square, they're moist, chewy, garlicky, and dangerously addictive. 4. İsmail Ustavert's Kebap ve Pide Salonu. This restaurant just off Taksim Square in Beyoğlu was home to some seriously delicious lahmacun. Resembling a thin cheeseless pizza, lahmacun is actually a type of wrap topped with minced meat, commonly beef or lamb, vegetables, herbs, onions, tomatoes, and parsley. Wafer thin, crisp around the edges but chewy towards the center, you roll it up like a burrito to eat. So good. 5. Tarihi Sultanahmet Köftesi Selim Usta. Being a tourist hub, there are plenty of restaurants to choose from in Sultanahmet. Unfortunately, most are touristy offering subpar, overpriced food. This mouthful of a restaurant, said to serve some of the best kufta, meatballs, in Istanbul, is an exception. Moist, smoky, and fork tender, they serve their delicious grilled meatballs with a side of green peppers and a basket of crusty bread. Tarihi Sultanahmet Köftesi Selim Usta is located just minutes from the stop, so keep an eye out for it the moment you get off the tram in Sultanahmet. Be aware that a few copycats seem to have sprouted around it bearing similar names. The one you want, pictured below, has the words Selim Usta in the name. It's not on the red awning, but if you look above, at the brown wooden sign, you'll see it there. 6. Arkat Box. Istanbul is a fish lover's paradise. It's surrounded, and divided, by water, so fresh seafood is abundant year-round. I've read that over 20 types of fish are available at different times of the year, from anchovy and bonito in the colder waters of December to turbot, sea bass, and swordfish in April. With all that fresh seafood to be had, it's no surprise that there are many good seafood restaurants in Istanbul. One that was highly recommended was Arkat Box. It's located in Sultanahmet, making it a great choice for dinner after visiting the area's historical sites. Arkat Box is located close to the water in what appears to be a more residential neighborhood. When we got there, we were confused because there were 2 restaurants opposite each other with similar names. According to TripAdvisor reviewers, one is an alleged copycat. The original is the one pictured to the left below with the word original in the awning. Look closely at the name as well. 7. Lizazan. We found this place by accident when visiting Chora Church. Lizazan specializes in sig kufta, which is traditionally a raw meat dish made with either beef or lamb and commonly served cold as a meze or in a durum. Cold and spicy with a distinct peppery flavor, it was without a doubt one of the most interesting dishes we had in Turkey. Ironically, most commercially sold sig köfte nowadays, including lezizan, is required by law to be vegetarian for health precautions. Lezizan is a chain of restaurants with many branches throughout Istanbul. The one we went to is on the corner of Nestor Sokak and Say Ayub Sokak in Edirne. It's en route to our church from the Edirne tram stop. 8. Walter's Coffee Roastery. Yo, Breaking Bad is one of my all-time favorite TV shows, so I became super excited when I learned about this cafe in Istanbul. Located on the Asian side, it's a fun coffee shop inspired by the series. Dubbed as a coffee super lab, it takes familiar elements from the show to create a unique meth lab setting complete with yellow hazmat suits, periodic table menus, and cappuccinos served in flasks and beakers. If you're a fan of the show, then you need to check it out, bitch. Walter's Coffee Roastery is located in a more residential neighborhood in the Asian side of Istanbul. It may be near a university as there were many students there at the time. How many days to stay? Sample itinerary. Istanbul is a fascinating city with lots to see and do. We stayed 5 nights and it still didn't feel long enough. At the very least, you should allow yourself 4 full days. It'll be a bit rushed, but 4 days will give you enough time to see the major sites. For a more comfortable pace with room for spontaneity, I'd say 6 full days would be perfect, even longer if you can. Here's a 4-day itinerary to help you plan your trip. Day 1. Topkapi Palace. Istanbul Archaeology Museums. Our Church. Day 2. Basilica Cistern. Hagia Sophia, Hagia Sophia. At Meydani, Sultanahmet Square. Ibrahim Pasha Palace, Turkish and Islamic Arts Museum. Sultanahmet, Blue Mosque. Day 3. Grand Bazaar. Rustam Pasha Mosque. Egyptian Spice Bazaar. Bosphorus Cruise. Day 4. Galata Bridge. Galata Tower. Istiklal Caddesi, Independence Avenue. Dolmabahce Palace. Budget, summary of expenses. Turkish lira is the national currency, but euros and US dollars are widely accepted as well. However, you should only pay for things in euro or USD when prices are quoted in euro or USD. Otherwise, you could be losing money in the conversion. Assuming you will be sharing a hotel room with one other person and doing everything in this guide, then a budget of around 220-250 TL per day should be plenty. This takes into account your hotel room, the 5-day Istanbul Museum Pass, other entrance fees, transportation, meals, pocket Wi-Fi rental, and some light shopping. Keep in mind that this estimated daily budget is for a 4-day stay in Istanbul and not necessarily applicable anywhere else in Turkey. Accommodations. This varies from person to person. We booked a room at the former Antique Hotel for about TL 132 a night. Expect to pay much less if you're staying in a dorm room. Meals. This is also subjective, but based on our experience, I'd say around 50 TL for the day per person with drinks. Budget more if you plan on dining at fancier restaurants. Pocket Wi-Fi rental. If you're sharing the cost with one other person, then you'll each be paying about 14 TL per day. Transportation. As advised, it's a good idea to invest in an Istanbul card if you plan on taking public transportation a lot. The base cost of an Istanbul card is 10 TL plus whatever amount you'll be needing. A transportation budget of around 60 TL for the entire 4 days should be enough for most people. You can always top up if you need more. Tour and entrance fees. Factoring in the cost of the 5-day Istanbul Museum Pass, then the total cost for all museums and attractions mentioned in this guide is 345 TL. Total. This comes out to about 220 TL per day for each person. Ren and I are middle-of-the-road travelers who enjoy good food and drink, so this is a budget that works for us. Feel free to adjust based on your own travel habits. Travel tips. 1. Plan your trip with Sajik Travel, formerly Tripomatic. For me, the easy and fun part about trip planning is finding where to go and where to eat. The hard part is putting it all together in an itinerary that makes sense. With this free trip planning app, I can easily plot points of interest on a map so I can see exactly where they are in relation to one another. That way I can group places by day and come up with an efficient itinerary. Check out my full post on the Sajik Travel app for more information. Download, iOS, Android. You can follow the link to check out our Istanbul itinerary on Sajik Travel. You can also get a download link to our entire 2-week Turkey itinerary in editable Word format from our itineraries page. 2. Rent a pocket Wi-Fi device. Can you go a day in your normal life without access to the internet? Pretty hard, right? Now imagine not having a Wi-Fi connection in a foreign country. Not being able to do research would make any trip more stressful and less enjoyable. It's for this reason why we never go anywhere now without renting a pocket Wi-Fi device first. We rented a pocket Wi-Fi device from Ulday Wi-Fi and used it all throughout our Turkey trip, from Istanbul to Selçuk to Pamukkale to Cappadocia. The connection was strong no matter where we were. Follow the link to rent a pocket Wi-Fi device from Ulday Wi-Fi. I suggest reserving it at least a week before your trip. 3. Invest in a tourist discount pass. The 5-day Istanbul Museum Pass was perfect for us, but there are a couple of other discount cards you can get depending on what you want to do in Istanbul. Here's a quick breakdown of each. Istanbul Museum Pass. For 185 TL, the Istanbul Museum Pass gives you access to most of the sites mentioned in this guide along with a few others within 120 hours after its first use. To give you an idea how much money you'll be saving, admission to the museum is suggested here. Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, with harem, and the archaeology museums, amounts to 185 TL, so you'll already be recouping your investment just by visiting those 3 sites. On top of that, a valid museum pass entitles you to 25% off on a short Bosphorus cruise and 20% off on a full Bosphorus tour with Shahir Hatler. The Istanbul Museum Pass will save you a lot of time as well, since you won't have to line up to buy tickets at every site. Some of these museums are hugely popular, especially during peak seasons, so lines can get pretty long. Istanbul Tourist Pass. If you want something more comprehensive than the Museum Pass, then you may want to look into getting an Istanbul Tourist Pass. It's considerably more expensive, but it'll cover almost everything you'll want to do in Istanbul. Available in 3, 5, and 7-day passes, it'll entitle you to Hagia Sophia and Topkapi Palace guided tours, a Bosphorus cruise, big bus tour tickets, a whirling dervish ceremony, and more. It'll even provide you with unlimited internet access and one-way transfers from the airport. Follow the link for more information and to purchase an Istanbul Tourist Pass from Get Your Guide. Istanbul Welcome Card. Another option is to get an Istanbul Welcome Card. It comes in 4 variations and provides a similar range of services as the Istanbul Tourist Pass, but with a few differences. Follow these links for more information and to purchase a classic, premium, deluxe, or family Istanbul Welcome Card. You'll get a discount if you purchase them using these links. 4. Know when museums are closed. Many of Istanbul's museums and attractions are closed 1 or 2 days of the week. Know when they close so you can plan your trip accordingly. Hagia Sophia, Monday. Istanbul Archaeology Museums, Monday. Dolmabahce Palace, Monday and Thursday. Topkapi Palace, Tuesday. Chara Church, Wednesday. Grand Bazaar, Sunday. 6. Check for discount passes. I purchased travel vouchers from many different websites. For East and Southeast Asia, I like Klook and Day. But for Turkey, my favorites are Get Your Guide and WeAutour because they offer the biggest selection. 5. Save money with an Istanbul card. To be honest, we didn't get an Istanbul card because I found its discount scheme confusing. I figured we'd be saving an insignificant amount anyway, so it wasn't worth the hassle. I was wrong. With each ride and every transfer on Istanbul's public transportation system costing 5 TL, the cost can quickly add up. If you'll be staying in the city for more than a couple of days and taking public transportation often, then it's worth the investment. With an Istanbul card, you'll pay just 3 TL for the first ride instead of the usual 5 TL. On top of that, you'll get up to 5 discounted transfers within 2 hours of your first ride. Here's the discount scheme as derived from the IAT website. First ride, 2.60 TL. First transfer, 1.85 TL. Second transfer, 1.40 TL. Third, fourth, fifth transfer, 0.90 TL each. To put that in practical terms, going from Ataturk to Taksim requires 2 transfers and would normally cost you 15 TL, 5 TL x 3. With an Istanbul card, that same trip will cost you just 5.85 TL, 2.60 TL plus 1.85 TL plus 1.40 TL. You can use one Istanbul card for up to 5 people, but according to this TripAdvisor thread, it's best to get one each if you plan to use it extensively. Multiple passengers can use the same card, but only one person will get a discount. You can purchase an Istanbul card at major metro stations like the airport, Sultanahmet, or Eminönü. You can also buy it at newspaper kiosks, though the cost is slightly higher. At metro station machines, the initial investment is 10 TL. 6 TL is for the cost of the card, leaving you with 4 TL initial credit. You can then top it up as you wish, though 20 TL per person should be a good start since any unused amount at the end of your trip is non-refundable. Seven. Get travel insurance. Though we do get it more often now, travel insurance isn't something we buy before every trip. Our credit cards give us basic coverage anyway, so we only get extra travel insurance if we plan on doing anything that could cause us bodily harm, things like skiing or bungee jumping. On this Turkey trip, we went horseback riding in Cappadocia, so we did purchase travel insurance. Basically, if you plan on doing anything physical, then you may want to pick up a policy. We get insurance from World Nomads or Safety Wing. They're both trusted travel medical insurance providers used by many long-term travelers. Check out my article on why we buy travel insurance for more information. You can follow the links to get a free quote from World Nomads or Safety Wing. Eight. Know when and how much to tip. Tipping is modest in Turkey, around 5% at inexpensive restaurants and 10 to 15% at fine dining establishments. For porters and bellhops, TL 2 to 3 lira per bag should suffice. Taxi drivers aren't usually given tips, but you can round up to a convenient amount, E17.20 TL to 18 TL. If you were happy with a tour, Then a group tip of around 20 TL for the guide and 15 TL for the driver will be appreciated. Keep in mind that this is the total tip from the entire group, not each individual. 9. Bring the right power adapter. Electrical outlets in Turkey are round, so plugs are typically Type C or Type F. Be sure to bring the right power adapters for your devices. Electrical voltage is 230 volts. 10. Consult Turkey Travel Planner. This website is a gold mine for Turkey travel information. Tom Brosnahan is an American travel writer who's been visiting Turkey for over 40 years. He's about as knowledgeable and well-connected as any non-local, and his website, turkeytravelplanner.com, was an invaluable resource when planning our trip. Check it out if you want a more in-depth look into all things Turkey. Have fun. I'm by no means an expert on Istanbul or Turkey, but I do hope that this travel guide helps you plan your trip. I'm only sharing some of the things I learned from the time we spent there. If you have any suggestions, then please feel free to let us know in the comment section below. You're welcome to join our Facebook travel group as well. Thanks for stopping by and have an awesome time exploring the mesmerizing city of Istanbul.